Hey there. Tonight, we're not exploring medieval castles or romanticizing the past. We're waking up as a town executioner in 1450s Germany, and you have your first job today. The condemned man is waiting in the cell below you. If stories like this help you unwind at the end of the day, feel free to like the video and subscribe, but only if it genuinely brings you peace. And I'm always curious. Drop a comment letting me know where you're listening from and what time it is. I love seeing how far these stories travel, from late-night listeners in Tokyo to early morning commuters in London. So take a breath, maybe grab some water or tea, dim the lights if you can, and settle in. This is going to be a long, brutal journey through the most despised profession in medieval Europe. Let's see if you can survive even one execution. Now, you open your eyes. Something smells wrong. Metallic, like old blood mixed with straw, and something else you can't quite name. Your mouth is dry, your heart is already beating faster than it should be, and you haven't even moved yet. You're lying on a thin straw mattress that does nothing to cushion the wooden planks beneath. Your back aches, your neck is stiff. You sit up slowly, and the room comes into focus in the dim pre-dawn light filtering through a single small window. There's a table. Rough wood, stained dark. On it sits a hood, black fabric, crudely sewn, with eye holes cut into it. Next to the hood, a pair of leather gloves, stiff, also stained. Your hands. You look down at your hands. There are dark russet marks under your fingernails that won't come out no matter how hard you scrub. You tried last night. The water in the basin turned pink. You are the town executioner, the Nachrichter. The dishonorable one, the man whose touch contaminates everything it meets. This is your cottage, if you can call it that. One room, timber and daub, sitting alone at the edge of town, well beyond the walls, isolated, quarantined really. No, one lives near you. No one wants to. Today is your first execution. A thief, they told you. Stole a pig from a merchant. The penalty is beheading. Public. In the market square, at noon. You have 6 hours. If you refuse, the town council has made it very clear what happens. You'll take the thief's place on the scaffold. If you botch the execution, if it takes more than one stroke, if the condemned man suffers, well, medieval crowds are not known for their patience. There are stories of executioners torn apart by mobs after bungled beheadings. Most people who took this job quit after one execution, if they survived the psychological destruction that followed. Many didn't make it that far. The social death that comes with this profession is immediate and permanent. But you can't quit. You're already marked. Your name is in the town records. Your dwelling is outside the walls. Children will be taught to fear you. Shopkeepers will refuse to touch coins you've handled. You'll drink from separate cups for the rest of your life. Welcome to 1450s Germany, where someone has to enforce the law's darkest verdicts, and that someone is now you. You're about to discover why executioner families intermarried for generations, because once you've done this once, no one else will touch you either. You'll learn the technical challenges of taking a life cleanly. You'll experience the economic trap that keeps you imprisoned in this role. And you'll feel the slow psychological erosion that turns a human being into something the community needs, but refuses to acknowledge as human. This is going to be a long day, the longest of your life. Let's see if you can make it to sunset. You need to eat. Your stomach is churning, nerves and hunger twisted together into something that feels like nausea. But you need food. Whatever's coming today, you can't face it on an empty stomach. You pull on your clothes. They're rough wool, undyed, the kind of thing that marks you as poor even before people see your face. But there's something else. A strip of yellow cloth sewn onto the shoulder. The mark, required by town law, so people can identify you at a distance and get out of your way. Your cottage has no food, no larder, no stored grain, nothing. You have to go into town. You have to buy breakfast from people who wish you didn't exist. The walk to town takes 10 minutes. You live close to your workplace after all. The gallows are visible from your window. Convenient. No commute. The condemned man doesn't have far to travel either, which is thoughtful. Career perks you never asked for. The town gates aren't locked during the day, but there's a separate entrance you're supposed to use. Smaller. On the side. The dishonorable gate. You walk through it. No one stops you. No one acknowledges you at all. The market is already active. Vendors setting up stalls, laying out bread and cheese and early vegetables. The smell of fresh baking makes your stomach clench with hunger. You move toward the baker's stall. You watch what happens before you even get close. A woman glances up, sees you, sees the yellow cloth on your shoulder, and immediately pulls her children behind her. She says something you can't hear. The children's eyes go wide. They stare at you like you're something dangerous, something unclean. You approach the baker's stall. There are 3 people ahead of you. The baker serves them quickly, efficiently, accepting their coins with a smile. You wait your turn. When you step forward, the baker's expression changes. His smile vanishes. He doesn't meet your eyes. Bread, you say. Your voice sounds strange, rough from disuse. You haven't spoken to anyone in 2 days. He doesn't touch the loaf with his bare hands. He uses a cloth, picking it up like it might bite him, and drops it on the counter in front of you. You reach for your coin purse. 3 pfennigs, he says, looking past your shoulder. You count out the coins carefully. You know the price is too high. You watched him sell the same size loaf for 2 pfennigs just moments ago. But you don't argue. You place the coins on the counter. He doesn't pick them up. Not yet. Not while you're standing there. You take the bread and step back. Only then does he use that same cloth to sweep the coins off the counter and into his hand. He'll wash them later, probably. Or just set them aside until your contamination wears off. You're not sure which. Your hands are shaking. You're not sure if it's anger or humiliation, or just the adrenaline of existing in a space where you're not wanted. You tear off a piece of bread and force yourself to chew. It's fresh, still warm. It tastes like ash in your mouth. You walk through the market toward the constable's office. You need to receive your official instructions for the execution. Time, location, method. The bureaucratic details of state-sanctioned killing. People see you coming. They literally cross to the other side of the street. A merchant pulls his cart to the side, as far from you as possible. 2 women, mid-conversation, stop talking and move away. Their faces show disgust. Not fear, disgust. Like you're something foul they'd rather not acknowledge. You notice something else. No one is eating while you're near. A man holding a meat pie lowers it, waits for you to pass, then raises it again. Your presence makes food unclean somehow. Your shadow contaminates. Think your social anxiety is bad. Try walking through a crowd that treats you like a mobile disease vector. Try buying breakfast from someone who won't breathe the same air as you. Career advancement opportunities, none. Lateral moves, also none. Retirement, plan, death. The constable's office is a stone building near the town hall. You enter through the main door. They haven't made you a separate entrance for this yet, though you suspect they're considering it. Inside, a clerk sits at a desk, scratching notes onto parchment. He looks up, sees you. His expression flattens into something carefully neutral. The execution, you say, because what else would you be here for? Bailiff will meet you at the scaffold, noon, Market Square. He doesn't look at you while he speaks. His eyes are fixed on the parchment in front of him. The prisoner will be delivered at 1:15. You'll have time to prepare. What's the... You start to ask, but he's already turned away. That's all, he says to the wall. You stand there for a moment, unsure. There are things you want to know, things you need to know. You've never done this before. You don't know the procedure. You don't know where to stand, how to position the condemned, what words are expected. But the clerk has picked up his pen again. He's writing. You're dismissed. You're always dismissed. You leave. The walk back through town is worse than the walk in. Now you're walking toward the gallows, visible in the distance, standing stark against the morning sky, and people know why. They know what you're about to do. Some stare. Most look away quickly, like witnessing your existence is itself a kind of sin. Your stomach has stopped churning. Now it's just empty, hollow. The bread sits in your gut like a stone. You're sweating despite the cool morning air. Your hands are still trembling. You pass the tavern. Through the open door, you can see men drinking already. Morning ale, breakfast for labourers. You think about going in. You desperately want to go in. You want to sit in a room with other people and pretend you're normal for just a few minutes. But you remember the rules. You remember what they told you when you took this position. Not that you had a choice. Executioners can enter taverns, but they must bring their own cup. They cannot drink from the house vessels, cannot touch anything that others will touch, must sit at a separate table, preferably in the corner, out of sight. You keep walking. The gallows are just ahead now. Your workplace. A wooden platform, raised 4 feet off the ground. A block in the center, stained dark. A basket beside it. The execution sword is there, leaning against the platform, and your chest tightens when you see it. You climb up onto the platform. The wood is worn smooth by feet. How many feet? How many people have stood here on their last morning? Your boots sound hollow on the boards. The sword is heavier than you expected. 3 feet of steel, single-edged with a blunt tip, not for stabbing, for chopping. The leather-wrapped handle is cracked and stained. You lift it. Feel the weight. Try a practice swing. Your arms are already tired, and it's not even mid-morning. There's a cell beneath the platform, a small wooden structure, more cage than room. You can hear someone inside. Movement. The scrape of chains. You step to the edge and look down through the gaps in the boards. You see him. The condemned man. He's younger than you thought. Maybe 20. Thin. Sitting with his back against the wall, wrists chained. His head is down. He doesn't look up. This is the man you're going to kill in 6 hours. Your hands are shaking again. You set the sword down carefully and sit on the edge of the platform, legs dangling. The market square is starting to fill with people. Normal people. People with normal jobs. Bakers and merchants and craftsmen who will go home tonight to families who are glad to see them. You look at your hands, still stained. You tried to scrub them clean last night, but the marks remain. They'll always remain. This is your life now. This is what you are. The executioner. The untouchable. The man who lives at the edge of town and the edge of society, necessary but despised, required but rejected. 6 hours until your first execution. 6 hours to figure out how to kill a man cleanly. 6 hours before you discover whether you're capable of this. Most people quit after 1. Let's see if you make it through the morning. You have 6 hours left. 6 hours to figure out how to kill a man cleanly. 6 hours to become competent at something you've never done, something most people spend years learning from their fathers. You're standing on the scaffold, holding the execution sword. It's heavier than it looks. 3 feet of steel, single-edged, with a grip wrapped in cracked leather that's stiff with old sweat and blood. The blade itself is pitted with rust spots. There are nicks in the edge. This is your primary tool, and it's in terrible condition. You need to practice. You need to understand how this works. Because if you botch this execution, if it takes 2 strokes, 3 strokes, if the condemned man suffers, the crowd will remember. Medieval crowds have long memories and short tempers when it comes to public torture, masquerading as justice. Your workshop is the scaffold itself, the wooden platform, the basket for the head, the block, worn smooth by necks you'd rather not think about. There's a small shed attached to the back of the structure, more of a lean-to really, where the tools are stored. You climb down and open it. Inside, 2 more swords in worse condition than the one you're holding. A coil of hemp rope that's rotting in places, a whetstone that's been used so much it's developed a deep groove, and a leather apron stiff with stains you recognize now as blood. There's also a manual, handwritten, barely legible, water-damaged. Instructions. Left by your predecessor, presumably. You pick it up, try to read it. The handwriting is shaky, the spelling atrocious. You make out a few phrases. Angle matters more than force. Mark the neck first. One clean stroke or they'll kill you. Helpful. Vague, but helpful. There's a note at the bottom, added later in different ink. I can't do this anymore. 3 strokes. Took 3 strokes. I still hear him screaming. The handwriting trails off. This is why the position was vacant. Your predecessor quit, or fled, or drank himself to death. You're not sure which. No employee training program, no safety certification, no supervisor to show you the ropes, literally or figuratively. Just you, a dull blade, and a very angry crowd if you mess up. Think your onboarding process was inadequate. Try learning to behead people through trial and error. You take the sword back up onto the platform. You need to practice the swing, the motion, the angle. You've seen executions before. Everyone has. They're public entertainment. But watching and doing are very different skills. You find a section of old timber propped against the scaffold. It's roughly neck width. Close enough. You set it on the block. Step back. Raise the sword. Your arms are already shaking. The sword is heavier than you expected. You're holding it wrong. You can feel it, but you don't know how to correct it. You swing. The blade hits the timber at an angle, bounces off, nearly flies out of your grip. Your shoulders scream in protest. Your hands sting from the impact vibrating through the grip. The timber rolls off the block, completely intact. You didn't even leave a mark. You try again, and again, and again. By the 10th swing, you've figured out the grip. Both hands, one near the guard, one at the pommel. Maximum leverage. By the 20th swing, you're getting the angle closer to perpendicular. By the 30th, your arms feel like they're on fire, and you've managed to split the timber partway through. Your shoulders burn. Blisters are forming on your palms, where the leather grip rubs. Your back aches from the repetitive motion. You're sweating despite the cool morning air, and you've barely made a dent in this piece of wood. Wood that doesn't move, doesn't flinch, doesn't have a spine and muscles and bones that will resist the blade. You set the sword down and look at your hands. The blisters are already weeping. You have no gloves. The leather apron doesn't come with matching accessories. You tear strips from your shirt and wrap your palms. It helps. Slightly. The sword needs sharpening. You can feel it in every swing. The blade is dull, catching on the wood instead of slicing through. You retrieve the whetstone from the shed and sit on the scaffold's edge. The blade across your knees. You've sharpened knives before. Kitchen knives. Small blades. This is different. The angle has to be consistent along 3 feet of steel. The edge has to be sharp enough to slice through skin, muscle, cartilage, bone, and emerge clean on the other side. 1 stroke. That's the standard. That's the difference between execution and torture. You work the stone along the blade. Long, steady strokes. The rhythm is almost meditative. Back and forth. The rasp of stone on steel. Your arms still ache. The blisters on your palms protest every movement, but you keep going. You test the edge on your thumb, carefully. It's sharper, not sharp enough. You keep working. The sun climbs higher. You're running out of time. Someone approaches the scaffold. You look up. It's the bailiff. A thick-set man in his 40s, with a face that suggests he's seen everything and been disappointed by most of it. He doesn't climb up, doesn't get close, just stands at the base of the platform. "You know what you're doing?" he asks. It's not really a question, more of an assessment. He's trying to figure out if this execution will go smoothly, or if he'll need to have men ready to control a riot. "I'm learning," you say. He looks at the sword in your hands, at the nicked timber on the block, at your makeshift hand wrappings. His expression doesn't change, but you see something in his eyes. Not sympathy, more like resignation. "Previous executioner took 3 strokes on his last job," the bailiff says. "Crowd nearly tore him apart. Had to pull him out of the square before they lynched him. He left town that night." I know, you say. You read the note. You get 1 stroke, the bailiff continues. 1. If you can't manage that, I can't protect you from what happens next. The crowd paid good money for their produce to throw, and they expect a show, but not that kind of show. Medieval crowds paid to attend executions, bought food specifically to throw at the scaffold. Entertainment, public spectacle. Your job is to provide closure, not a prolonged torture session that'll haunt everyone present. No pressure. I'll manage, you say. You're not sure you believe it. The bailiff nods. Prisoner will be brought up at 12:45. Position him yourself. Nobody else will touch him once he's up here. That's your job. 1 stroke. Clean. Understood. Understood. He leaves without another word. You're alone again with the sword and the timber and the growing knot of fear in your stomach. You look at the condemned man's cell beneath the platform. You can hear him moving down there. Pacing, maybe, or praying. You wonder if he knows how inexperienced you are. You wonder if he's hoping you'll botch it. Give him a few extra seconds of life, even if they're seconds of agony. You return to sharpening the blade. Your hands move automatically now, muscle memory taking over. The blisters throb with each stroke. You ignore them. Pain is manageable. Shame. The shame of failing publicly, of torturing a man through incompetence. That's not manageable. That follows you. The blade is as sharp as you can make it with the tools you have. You test it on a piece of hemp rope. It slices through cleanly. Good. That's good. Rope isn't a spine, but it's something. You need to understand the mechanics, the anatomy. You close your eyes and try to picture it. The neck. Vertebrae stacked like blocks. Soft tissue surrounding them. The blade needs to slice through all of it. Skin, muscle, windpipe, arteries, spine, in one motion. The angle matters. Too steep and you hit bone wrong. Too shallow and you don't sever cleanly. You practice the swing again. This time focusing on the follow-through. The blade needs to accelerate through the target, not slow down at impact. Physics, momentum. Things you understand in theory, but have never applied to separating a human head from its body. Your arms are trembling now, not from fear, though there's plenty of that, but from exhaustion. You've been swinging this sword for over an hour. Your shoulders are screaming. Your back feels like it might give out, but you're getting the motion right. You can feel it. The blade moves in an arc that feels natural now, controlled. You wonder how many practice swings your predecessor did before his first execution. You wonder if he had a father who taught him, passed down the family trade like blacksmiths pass down forged techniques. Most executioners were born into it. Legacy positions. Your father was an executioner, his father before him, stretching back generations. They learned as children, held the sword before they could read, understood the anatomy before they understood arithmetic. You had none of that. You're learning this the way people learn to swim when they're thrown in deep water, desperately, with no guarantee of success. The church bells ring. 9 o'clock. 3 hours left. You need to prepare the scaffold, clean the block. There are still stains from previous executions, dark brown against the wood. You need to position the basket, need to check the prisoner's restraints, need to figure out exactly where to stand, where to position him, how to mark the spot on his neck where the blade needs to land. Your hands won't stop shaking. You wrap them tighter, pull the fabric strips until they're cutting off circulation, anything to stop the trembling. It doesn't work. The fear is in your bones now, cold and deep and permanent. You pick up the sword one more time, one more practice swing. The blade cuts through the air with a whisper. Clean, controlled. You're as ready as you'll ever be, which isn't ready at all. But noon is coming whether you're prepared or not. The condemned man is waiting, the crowd is gathering, and you're standing on a scaffold with a sword in your hands, about to discover if you can actually do what you've been assigned to do. Most executioners learned from their fathers. You learned from a damaged manual and an hour of panicked practice. Let's see if that's enough to keep you alive. The church bells ring 11 times. 1 hour left. The market square is filling with people. You can hear them from the scaffold. Voices rising, the sound of boots on cobblestones, the occasional laugh. They're arriving early to get good viewing positions. This is entertainment, a public spectacle. They've brought food. You can smell roasted meat, fresh bread. Someone is selling ale from a cart. They're here to watch you kill a man. Your hands are shaking again. You've wrapped them tighter, but it doesn't help. The sword feels impossibly heavy. Your shoulders ache from the practice swings. Your back is already protesting the strain you're about to put on it. You're sweating despite the cool autumn air, and your mouth is so dry you can barely swallow. The hood is on the table. Black fabric, roughly sewn. You pick it up. Turn it over in your hands. The eye holes are uneven. Someone cut them with a knife, not caring about precision. You slip it over your head. The world narrows. Your peripheral vision is gone. The fabric smells of old sweat and something else. Fear, maybe. Or just age. You can hear your own breathing, loud in your ears. Your field of vision is reduced to 2 rough holes. This is what you'll see when you swing the sword. You're not wearing the hood for mystery. Everyone knows who you are. You're wearing it so the condemned man's family doesn't memorize your face, so they can't find you later. So revenge is slightly more difficult. Occupational hazard. The relatives of people you execute tend to hold grudges. The bailiff appears at the edge of the scaffold. He's brought 4 guards with him. They're escorting the condemned man up from the cell. You see him clearly for the first time. He's young, maybe 22, 23, thin. His clothes are filthy from days in the cell. His hands are bound in front of him. His face is pale, sheened with sweat despite the cold. He's terrified. You can smell it. You can see it in the way his legs barely hold. Him. He looks at you, at the hood, at the sword in your hands. His legs give out. The guards catch him, drag him up onto the platform. He's trying to speak, but no words come out. Just a kind of whimpering sound that makes your stomach turn. The crowd cheers. Actually cheers. Someone throws a cabbage. It hits the platform with a wet thud. Entertainment. Your hands won't stop shaking. The sword trembles in your grip. You have to do this. You have to position him. Get him on the block. Nobody else will touch him. That's your job. Contamination works both ways. You step forward. The condemned man sees you coming and tries to back away. The guards hold him. You grab his shoulder. You can feel him trembling through the fabric of his shirt and guide him to the block. He resists. His feet drag. He's making that sound again, high and desperate. Kneel, you say. Your voice sounds wrong through the hood, muffled, distant. He won't kneel. Can't, maybe. His legs won't cooperate. You push him, down. Not gently. There's no gentle way to do this. He collapses onto his knees, then forward, his neck across the block. His hair is in the way. You need to see the neck clearly. You need to mark the spot. Your hands are shaking so badly you can barely grip his hair, but you pull it aside. Expose the nape of his neck, pale skin. You can see his pulse. It's racing. The priest is saying something, Latin, last rites. You step back. This isn't your part. You're excluded from the spiritual moment. You're just the tool, the instrument, the hand that carries out the sentence. The condemned man is crying now, openly. His shoulders shake. He's trying to pray along with the priest, but he can't get the words out. Just sobbing. Your chest feels tight. Your heart is hammering. You can feel each beat in your temples, in your throat. The crowd is quiet now, waiting. Hundreds of faces turn toward the scaffold, toward you. The priest finishes, steps back, looks at you, nods. This is it. You raise the sword. Your arms scream in protest. They're already exhausted from practice, and the sword is so much heavier now, heavier than it should be. The weight of what you're about to do is in the steel. You line up the swing. You've practiced this. You know the angle. You know where to aim. The spot on his neck. The third vertebra. One clean stroke. Your hands are shaking. The sword trembles. You force yourself to breathe. 1 breath. 2. The condemned man is whimpering. The sound cuts through everything else. High, desperate, animal. You swing. The sword comes down. The resistance is different from timber. There's a moment, a split second, where the blade catches on something. Bone. You feel it through the handle. Then it breaks through. The sound. You weren't prepared for the sound. It's not clean. It's wet. Organic. The kind of sound you'll never unhear. The head separates. Falls into the basket with a thud that's softer than you expected. The body slumps forward, then sideways. There's blood. More than you anticipated. It's everywhere. Hot. The smell is immediate and overwhelming. Copper and something else. Something that makes your gorge rise. You did it. 1 stroke. Clean. Textbook. The crowd erupts. Cheering, whistling, applause. They're throwing things now. Vegetables, bread, flowers. Someone is laughing. Actually laughing. You just killed a man, and they're treating it like theatre. Your legs are shaking. Your whole body is shaking. You can't feel your hands. The sword is still in your grip, but you don't remember holding it. There's blood on the blade. Blood on your clothes. Blood on the hood. You can taste it in your mouth. Must have gotten through the fabric somehow. You need to complete the ritual. You need to pick up the head. Display it to the crowd. This is part of your job. Public confirmation that justice has been carried out. You bend down. Reach into the basket. The head is heavier than you expected. Warm. The hair is slick with blood. You lift it. Hold it up. Show the crowd. They cheer louder. Someone throws coins. They land on the platform. Roll through the blood. Your payment. The condemned man's life, valued at a handful of copper pfennigs. You set the head down carefully. Your hands are shaking so badly you nearly drop it. You step back from the body, what's left of the body, and realize you're going to be sick. You make it to the edge of the platform before you vomit. The hood is still on. You're vomiting inside the hood. The fabric catches it, holds it against your face. The smell makes you vomit again. You rip the hood off. Gasp for air. The crowd sees your face, red, streaked with tears and bile. They laugh. Someone makes a joke you can't quite hear. More laughter. The bailiff is there. He's got a cart. Clean up, he says. Just that. Then he leaves. The guards leave. The crowd is already dispersing, chattering about what they saw, debating whether it was 1 stroke or if the blade caught. Entertainment. Review. You're alone on the scaffold with the body. Nobody helps you. This is your job. All of it. You have to move the body to the cart. Have to collect the head. Have to scrub the blood from the platform. Have to take the body to wherever bodies go. Outside the town walls, probably. Unmarked grave. No ceremony. Your hands won't stop shaking. They won't stop. You grab the body under the arms. It's still warm, still heavy. Dead weight is an accurate term. And drag it to the cart. The head goes in the basket. You carry the basket like you're carrying vegetables. Normal. Routine. Just another day's work. The cleanup takes hours. Hours. You scrub the platform with water hauled from the well. The blood doesn't want to come out. It's soaked into the wood grain. You scrub until your arms give out, until your fingers are raw, and it's still there. A dark stain. A memory. By the time you finish, it's late afternoon. The market square is empty. Normal business has resumed. Vendors selling. Cloth. People buying bread. Life goes on. A man died here 4 hours ago. Nobody cares. It's already forgotten. You walk back to your cottage. Your clothes are stiff with drying blood. Your hands are still shaking. Will they ever stop? You can still feel the resistance of the blade. Can still hear that sound. Can still smell the copper and meat smell that seems to have lodged permanently in your nostrils. People see you walking. They don't look away this time. They stare. You're marked now, not just by your profession, but by what you've actually done. You can see it in their faces. You're the man who killed the thief, the man who held up his head, the man covered in blood. You make it to your cottage, close the door, sit on the floor with your back against the wall. Your whole body is shaking now, not just your hands. Tremors you can't control. Your teeth are chattering. You're not cold. You're in shock. You did it. You executed a man, took a life, ended someone's existence with one swing of a sword. He was alive this morning, breathing, thinking, feeling. Now he's in an unmarked grave, and you put him there. The worst part, you did it cleanly, professionally. One stroke. The bailiff will be satisfied. The town council will be satisfied. You've proven you can do the job, which means they'll call on you again, and again, and again. This is your life now. This is what you are. The executioner, the man who kills for the state, the man who goes home afterward and tries to wash the blood off and knows he'll never really be clean again. You look at your hands. They're finally still. You're not sure if that's better or worse. Tomorrow, there might be another job, or next week, or next month. It doesn't matter. You've crossed a line you can't uncross. You've taken your first life, and everyone knows it. Most people who took this job quit after one execution. You're starting to understand why. But you can't quit. You're trapped. The moment you put on that hood, the moment you raised that sword, you became something different, something separate, something the community needs, but will never acknowledge as human. This is your life now. This is what you are, and you're only just beginning to understand what that means. You've just taken your first life. The crowd has dispersed. The blood is still under your fingernails. You can still hear that sound, the wet resistance, the moment the blade broke through. If you're still with me, you're tougher than most medieval executioners ever were. Many quit after their first job. Some fled town that very night. Before we continue into the darker reality of your new existence, take a moment, breathe, stretch if you need to, grab some water. And if you're finding value in this journey into history's most despised profession, that like button helps others discover these stories. Ready? Because you're about to discover that the execution was the easy part. Now you have to live with what you are. Now you have to exist in a society that needs you but will never let you belong. The psychological slow death is just beginning. "3 days after your first execution, you wake to rain drumming on your roof. The thatch is thin. Water is already dripping through in 2 places. You drag your mattress to a drier spot and lie there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the steady leak. You live outside the town walls, not by choice, by law. Your cottage sits in what they call the dishonorable zone, a strip of land between the town proper and the forest where the people's society needs, but refuses to acknowledge, make their homes. You have neighbours. A tanner whose hands are permanently stained from the chemicals he uses. A knacker who processes dead animals. 3 prostitutes who work the taverns inside the walls but sleep out here. A man who cleans the latrines and cesspits. The dishonoured. You're one of them now. Permanently. There's no promotion out of this zone. No moving to a better neighbourhood. This is it. This is where you exist for the rest of your life. The rain keeps falling. Your cottage has 1 room. Dirt floor. A hearth that smokes badly because the chimney is cracked. A table, a stool, a mattress stuffed with straw that's starting to rot. No windows except the one small opening that has no shutter. When winter comes, you'll stuff it with rags and still freeze. You tried to buy better materials to repair your roof. The carpenter wouldn't sell to you. He quoted a price 3 times what others pay, then changed his mind entirely when you reached for your coin purse. Didn't want your money. Contaminated. Your chest tightens. It does that now. A physical sensation that started after the execution and hasn't gone away. Like there's a weight sitting on your ribs, pressing down, making it hard to breathe deeply. You recognize it as anxiety. Persistent, chronic, exhausting. You get up, pull on your damp clothes. The yellow strip on the shoulder is mandatory. You tried going without it once. The town guard stopped you, brought you back here, made sure you understood. The mark is required, by law, so people can identify you, so they can avoid you. Think your morning commute is bad? Try walking through a town where the streets you're allowed to use are legally restricted. Try shopping at markets that have designated hours for the dishonored. After everyone else has finished, when all that's left are the wilted vegetables and day-old bread sold at inflated prices. You need food. Your last execution payment is almost gone. 3 pfennigs for a man's life, and you've spent 2 of them already on bread and a small piece of cheese that was mostly mould. The walk to town takes you past the other cottages in your zone. The tanner is already at work. You can smell his vats from here, a stench that makes your eyes water. Urine and feces mixed with tree bark, the chemical bath that turns hide into leather. He nods at you as you pass, the only person who nods at you anymore. Rain's getting worse, he says. Yeah, you say. That's the entire conversation. But it's more than you've gotten from anyone else in 3 days. Out here in the dishonorable zone, you acknowledge each other. You're all contaminated anyway. Might as well be civil about it. You reach the town gate. Not the main gate. You're not allowed through that anymore. There's a smaller entrance on the eastern side. The dishonorable gate. Narrower. Darker. The wood is rotting at the base. Nobody maintains it because nobody important uses it. You walk through. The guard doesn't look at you. He never does. The market is busy. You move through it carefully, staying to the edges. You've learned the routes, the streets you can walk without causing too much disruption, the alleys where people are less likely to spit as you pass. You need to buy bread, maybe some dried beans if you can afford them. You approach the baker's stall. Different baker this time. You're trying to spread your contamination around, so no single merchant refuses to serve you entirely. The baker sees you. His expression hardens. He serves 2 other customers first, then 3 more. You wait. You've learned to wait. Eventually, he'll take your money. Eventually. Bread, you say when he finally acknowledges you. He wraps it in cloth. Old cloth. Stained cloth. Not the clean linen he uses for other customers. He sets it on the counter and names a price that's twice what it should be. You pay. You always pay. Arguing just makes it worse. You leave quickly. Head toward the tavern. Not to drink, you can't afford that, but to ask about work. The tavern owner sometimes has jobs, cleaning, things nobody else wants to do. Inside the tavern, the noise stops. Not completely, but it quiets. People glance at you. Some turn away. Others stare with open disgust. You're used to it now. The staring, the disgust. It's part of your daily routine. Wake up, get stared at, go to bed. Repeat. The tavern owner sees you and jerks his head toward the back. You follow, out of sight of the customers. Can't have the executioner visible, while people are eating. Bad for business. Cesspit needs emptying, he says. Doesn't look at you. Looks past your shoulder. 2 pfennigs. 2 pfennigs to spend hours shoveling human waste out of a pit. 2 pfennigs to do work that will leave you reeking for days. 2 pfennigs because you're executioner, which means you're already contaminated, which means you're the perfect person for contaminated work. I'll do it, you say, because you don't have a choice. Tomorrow morning, he says, early, before customers arrive. You nod and leave. Back through the tavern. More stairs. A woman pulls her child close as you pass, like you might reach out and contaminate them through proximity. You're 3 feet away. It's not enough distance for her. Your hands are shaking again. The anxiety in your chest is worse. You need to get out of here, back to your zone, back to where you're allowed to exist. On the way out of town, you pass the church, St. Michael's, stone walls, beautiful stained glass. The bells ring for midday prayer. People are entering. You watch them. Normal people, clean people, people who can walk through the front door. You can't. Executioners aren't allowed in churches, not through the main entrance. In some towns, there are separate doors, executioner doors, built into the side walls so the dishonored can attend mass without contaminating the congregation. This church doesn't have one, so you don't attend. Ever. When you die, you won't be buried in the church cemetery either. Won't be buried in consecrated ground at all. There's a separate cemetery for the dishonored, outside the walls, unmarked graves, no priest, no ceremony, just a hole in the ground that someone like you will dig. Your eternal soul is contaminated. That's the message. Not just your body, not just your social position, your actual soul. The church has decided this. God has decided this, apparently. You enforce the law, carry out lawful sentences, and for this service, you're permanently marked as spiritually unclean. The irony isn't lost on you. You kill people legally. But you're treated worse than the thieves and murderers you execute. They get last rites. They get prayers. They get consecrated burial if their crimes weren't too severe. You get none of that. Career perks. Eternally damned. You make it back to your cottage. The rain is still falling. The leaks are worse. There's a puddle spreading across the dirt floor now. You'll need to dig a trench to divert the water. Another job. Another task that nobody will help you with. You sit on your stool and eat the bread. It's stale. Of course it's stale. The baker sold you yesterday's bread at today's prices. You eat it anyway. Your stomach is empty. Your hands are still shaking. You think about the tanner, about the knacker, about the prostitutes and the cesspit cleaner, your neighbours, your community, the only people who will acknowledge your existence. The tanner's children can't attend school. They're contaminated by association. The knacker's daughter wanted to marry a carpenter's son. The carpenter's family threatened violence if she came near their home. The prostitutes, at least 2 of them, started in that profession because it was the only work available to daughters of executioners. This is your world now. Your children, if you ever have any, will inherit this. They'll live in this zone, work these jobs, marry other outcasts because no one else will have them. The contamination passes through bloodlines. Permanent, inescapable. You lie down on your damp mattress. Your back aches. Your chest is tight. You can't breathe deeply without feeling that weight pressing down. The anxiety is constant now. A background hum of dread that never quite goes away. Sleep doesn't come easily anymore. When it does, you dream about the execution. The sound, the resistance, the weight of the head in your hands. You wake up gasping, heart pounding, hands reaching for the sword that isn't there. Outside you hear voices. The prostitutes returning from town, laughing about something, finding joy where they can. You admire that. The ability to laugh. You're not sure you remember how. The rain drums on, the leaks spread. Your cottage is slowly dissolving around you, and you don't have the money or resources to stop it. This is your life. This is what you are. The executioner, the contaminated one. The man who exists in the space between useful and untouchable. Tomorrow you'll empty a cesspit for 2 pfennigs. Next week, maybe there will be another execution. More money, more blood on your hands, more nights of interrupted sleep and chest-crushing anxiety. But tonight, you lie here in your leaking cottage, listening to the rain, feeling the weight on your chest, and understanding, really understanding, why executioner families intermarried for generations. Because once you're marked, there's no way out. No redemption, no escape. You're trapped in the zone of contamination. And you'll die here, among the other dishonored, in an unmarked grave that no one will visit. This is your life now. All of it. Everything you are and ever will be. You've been the town executioner for 3 months now. 3 executions. 3 lives taken. 3 times you've stood on that scaffold with a sword in your hands and done what the law required. Your payment for each execution. 3 pfennigs and whatever belongings the condemned man had on him. A shirt, a pair of worn boots, a belt. Sometimes a few coins from their pockets. These are your wages. This is how you're compensated for taking human lives. Do the math. 3 executions in 3 months. 9 pfennigs total. Plus 3 sets of clothing you can't wear. They're too recognizable, too contaminated. So you sell them for half their value to a rag merchant who won't look at you while haggling. Maybe 15 pfennigs total for 3 months of work. You can't live on 15 pfennigs for 3 months. The bread alone costs more than that. This is the economic trap. This is why you can't escape. You need money to survive, but executions don't happen on a schedule. Sometimes there are 3 in a month. Sometimes there are none for 6 weeks. You never know. You can't plan, can't budget, can't save for winter or illness or emergencies. So you take other work, work that nobody else wants, work that suits your contaminated status. Today, you're emptying the tavern's cesspit. This is your supplementary income, your side hustle, career diversification, from killing people to shoveling human waste. Upward mobility at its finest. The pit is behind the tavern, covered with wooden planks. You remove the planks. The smell hits you immediately, a physical wall of stench that makes your eyes water. You've been doing this for weeks now, and you still gag every single time. You climb down into the pit. It's 5 feet deep, filled with months of accumulated waste from the tavern's privy. Your boots sink into it. The smell is everywhere, in your nose, your mouth, your lungs. You can taste it. Your shovel scrapes against stone. You lift. The waste is thick, heavy. Your arms protest. Your back aches. You've been at this for an hour already, and you're maybe a quarter done. The tavern owner will pay you 2 pfennigs for this. 2 pfennigs to spend half a day knee-deep in literal shit. Think your job is degrading? At least you can tell your family what you do for a living. At least they'll sit at the same table as you afterward. Your hands are shaking. Not from fear this time, from exhaustion. You're not eating enough. You know you're not eating enough. Your ribs are starting to show. Your face is gaunt. But food costs money, and money requires work, and work requires a body that can perform it. It's a cycle you're losing. You haul another shovelful out of the pit. Your shoulders burn. The waste splashes. Some of it lands on your arm, on your face. You wipe it away with the back of your hand. It doesn't matter. You're covered in it anyway. This is what executioners do between executions. This is the economic reality. You're not just the man who kills for the state. You're also the man who handles everything too contaminated, too degrading, too disgusting for anyone else to touch. Dead animals. That's another job. When a horse dies in the street, when a cow needs to be disposed of, when something large and dead needs to be removed from somewhere visible, they call you. You drag the carcass outside the town walls. Sometimes you bury it. Sometimes you leave it for the knacker. The knacker is your neighbor. He processes dead animals, renders the fat, sells the hide, separates the bones. It's contaminated work, dishonorable. He's been teaching you the trade because you might need it. Because executioners often work as knackers too. Vertical integration of the contaminated professions. You've learned to skin a horse, how to separate hide from flesh without damaging either, how to render fat over a low fire, how to identify which bones can be sold and which are worthless. Practical skills for your expanding career in societal reject work. The knacker pays you 1 pfennig per carcass you bring him. 1 pfennig for dragging a dead horse 3 miles in the summer heat, fighting off dogs and crows the entire way. 1 pfennig for work that leaves you reeking for days. Your hands are calloused now, permanently. The skin is thick, cracked, stained. You can't remember what clean hands look like anymore. Can't remember the last time your fingernails weren't lined with dirt or blood or worse. You climb out of the cesspit. Your legs are shaking. Your back is screaming. You're covered in waste from the knees down, from the elbows down. Probably your face too, though you try not to think about that. The tavern owner comes out, looks at your progress, nods, doesn't say anything, doesn't thank you, drops 2 pfennigs on the ground near your feet, won't hand them to you directly, can't risk the contamination of touch. You pick up the coins, wipe them on your shirt. Not that it matters, your shirt is filthy anyway. 2 pfennigs. Added. To the one you made yesterday hauling a dead pig, you have 3 pfennigs. Enough to buy bread for 2 days, maybe 3 if you eat less. This is your life. This is your economy. You're trapped in a cycle of degrading work that barely keeps you alive. punctuated by executions that pay slightly better but destroy you psychologically. You can't save money, can't improve your situation, can't escape, and you legally cannot refuse. That's the part that really traps you. If the town council sentences someone to death, you must perform the execution. If you refuse, you become the condemned. They'll find another executioner, or force someone else into the role, and you'll take the place on the scaffold you've been standing behind. There's no quitting, no resignation letter, no 2 weeks' notice. You're the executioner until you die, or until they find someone more suitable, which they won't, because nobody volunteers for this position. Nobody. Your stomach growls. You haven't eaten today. You'll buy bread on the way home. Maybe some dried beans if you can afford them. You need protein. Your body is starting to fail. You can feel it. The weakness, the constant fatigue, the way your hands shake even when you're not afraid. You're 23 years old. You feel 40. You look older than that. There's another job waiting. A woman came by your cottage yesterday. Didn't want to come inside. Stood at your door and told you her daughter is sick. Fever. Won't break. She wants executioner's ointment. This is another side business. Folk medicine. People believe that executioners have special healing powers, that your proximity to death gives you knowledge of life, that the fat from executed criminals can cure diseases, that blood from a hanged man can heal epilepsy, that rope used in executions has magical properties. It's nonsense. Complete nonsense. But people believe it, and belief pays. You've learned to make the ointments, to collect the ingredients, to sell hope to desperate people. It's fraud, really. But it's fraud that sometimes works. Placebo effect, spontaneous recovery, who knows? And it's fraud that feeds you. You have jars in your cottage, rendered fat mixed with herbs, strips of rope from the gallows, small vials of blood you collected during the last execution. Dark brown, almost black now. People pay good money for this. 2 pfennigs for a vial of blood, 5 pfennigs for an ointment jar, 10 pfennigs for a piece of execution rope. You sell components of death to people desperate to preserve life. The irony isn't lost on you. The morality of it bothers you less than it should. You need the money, they need hope. It's a transaction. The woman's daughter probably has a fever that will break on its own, or won't. You'll sell the mother an ointment for 5 pfennigs. She'll apply it. The daughter will either recover or die. If she recovers, you'll get credit. If she dies, you'll get blamed. But they already hate you, so what's the difference? Your back aches. Your hands hurt. Your stomach is eating itself. You walk home through the dishonorable zone, past the other outcasts who are the only people who'll acknowledge your existence. The tanner waves. You wave back. 2 contaminated men greeting each other in a contaminated world. You reach your cottage. The roof still leaks. You still can't afford repairs. The floor is still dirt. The hearth still smokes. This is permanent. This is forever. You will never have a better home. Never have a better life. This is it. And if you ever have children, which seems unlikely, given that only prostitutes and other executioners' daughters will marry you, they'll inherit this. Your son will become an executioner. Your daughter will marry an executioner. The contamination passes through blood. Permanent. Inescapable. You sit on your stool. Count your money. 5 pfennigs. 5 pfennigs from 3 days of the most degrading work imaginable. You need at least 2 pfennigs a day, just for food. You're already behind. Already starving slowly. Next week, there might be an execution. A woman this time. Convicted of adultery. She'll be hanged, not beheaded. Different method. Same outcome. You'll get 3 pfennigs plus her dress, which you can sell for maybe 2 more. 5 pfennigs total for taking a life. The economic calculation is simple. You're worth more dead than alive. The condemned pay better than the living. Your best income comes from killing people. Your worst income comes from trying to stay alive yourself. Think of it as a family business. A horrible, soul-destroying family business that no family actually wants, but some families get stuck with forever. generational poverty, plus social contamination, plus psychological trauma, all wrapped up in a hereditary profession you can't escape. Your hands are finally still. You're too tired to shake, too exhausted to feel anything but the numbness spreading through your limbs. You need to eat. You need to sleep. You need to survive another day so you can do this all again tomorrow. The trap is perfect. Elegant, really. You need money to live. Money requires work. The only work available is contaminated work that barely pays. And the best paying contaminated work is killing people, which happens unpredictably, which means you can never plan, never save, never escape. You're caught. Permanently. Economically. Socially. Spiritually. Every possible exit is blocked. Every door is locked. You're the executioner. This is your life. This is your economy. This is your trap. And tomorrow, you'll empty another cesspit, or drag another carcass, or sell another jar of fraudulent ointment. And you'll survive one more day in a life that barely qualifies as living. 2 years have passed. You've lost count of the executions. Somewhere between 15 and 20. Maybe more. The faces blur together now. You stopped keeping track after the first year. You're sitting at your table, eating bread. It's late afternoon. You executed a man this morning. A forger, they said. And now you're eating lunch. The bread tastes fine. Your appetite is normal. You're not even thinking about the execution anymore. This should horrify you. It doesn't. That's what should horrify you. You've changed. Fundamentally. The man who shook for hours after his first execution is gone. You're someone else now. Someone harder. Someone emptier. Someone who can separate a head from a body and then go home and eat a meal without your stomach turning. The numbness happened gradually. So gradually, you didn't notice it happening. First execution. You vomited, shook for hours, couldn't sleep for days. 5th execution. You only shook for an hour afterward. 10th execution. You managed to eat dinner that evening. 15th execution. You barely thought about it. Now you're sitting here, bread in hand, feeling nothing. The condemned man's name was Hans, or Heinrich. You're not sure. You didn't ask. You don't ask anymore. Names make it harder. Numbers are easier. Your hands don't shake anymore. Look at them. Steady, calloused, capable. These are the hands of a professional, an expert. You're good at your job now. That's the worst thing that could have happened to you. Think your job has changed you? Try spending 2 years killing people for money and see what's left of your personality afterward. Career development. From terrified amateur to competent killer. Congratulations on your professional growth. The nightmares haven't stopped though. Those are permanent. Every night, you dream. The faces come back in your sleep. All of them. The ones you can't remember while awake. They line up. They wait their turn. They kneel at the block. You swing. Over and over. An endless procession of the dead. You wake up gasping, heart pounding, sheets soaked with sweat. Your hands reach for the sword that isn't there. It takes a moment to remember where you are. Your cottage. Your bed. Alone. Always alone. You've tried drinking to stop the nightmares. It works sometimes. You spend what little money you have at the tavern, drinking cheap ale until the world blurs, and sleep comes heavy and dreamless. But ale costs money. Money you need for food. So you drink when you can afford it and endure the nightmares when you can't. The tanner has noticed. You see him watching you sometimes, concern in his eyes. He's lost people to drink. Knows what it looks like when someone's drowning themselves slowly. He doesn't say anything. What would he say? You're all trapped here together, all coping in whatever ways you can. Your body has changed too. You're 25 years old. You look 40. Your face is gaunt, lined with stress. Your hair is going grey at the temples. Your back is permanently bent from the repetitive strain. Your hands are gnarled, scarred, the fingers starting to curl from constant gripping. The chronic pain is constant now. Your shoulders ache every morning. Your lower back throbs with every movement. Your knees pop when you stand. These are the physical tolls of your profession. The body breaking down under the weight of what you do. But the physical pain is manageable. It's the psychological weight that's crushing you. The slow, steady erosion of whoever you used to be. You can't remember what you cared about before this job. Can't remember what made you laugh. Can't remember feeling anything except this grey, persistent numbness punctuated by nightmares. You've executed people you knew. That baker who cheated on weights and measures. That thief who was just hungry and stole bread. A woman you saw at market once, convicted of adultery. People with faces, names, lives. You killed them, cleanly, professionally, efficiently. And you felt nothing. That's what terrifies you now. The absence of feeling. You're becoming what they always thought you were. Something less than human. Something that can kill without conscience because killing is just work. Just a job. Just what you do. Your cottage door opens. You didn't hear a knock. You look up. It's your son. You have a son. That happened somehow. You married a prostitute from your zone 3 years ago. She died giving birth. The baby survived. Your son, 8 months old now, being watched by the knacker's wife during your work hours. You named him after your father. A name that means nothing now because your father is dead and your son is tainted from birth. Contaminated by bloodline. His future is already written. He'll be an executioner. Like you. Like your father. Like your grandfather. The contamination passes through generations, and you've just guaranteed another one. He's crawling now, moving around the cottage floor on his hands and knees, exploring his tiny world, a world that will never expand beyond this dishonorable zone, a world of rejection and isolation and killing. You pick him up. He smiles at you, doesn't know what you are yet, doesn't know what you do, doesn't know that his father is the man the town fears and despises. To him, you're just warmth, safety, food. The guilt is crushing. You brought him into this. You cursed him with your bloodline. He'll grow up in this cottage, play with the tanner's children and the knacker's son. Learn that he can't enter churches, can't attend school, can't marry anyone except another executioner's daughter. And one day, you'll teach him to swing the sword. You'll have to. Someone has to. And you're his father. It's your responsibility to train him in the family trade. The thought makes you want to vomit, but you won't train him yet. Not for years. Let him be innocent a while longer. Let him crawl around this filthy cottage and smile and not know what's coming. That's the only mercy you can offer him. You set him down. Go back to your bread. Your hands are finally shaking again. Not from the execution, from the future. From the certainty of what comes next. Your son on that scaffold. Your son wearing the hood. Your son learning that human life has a price measured in pfennigs. The door opens again. The knacker. He nods at you, jerks his head toward the outside. There's work. A dead horse on the road. Needs removing. 1 pfennig if you help drag it. You stand. Your back protests. Your knees crack. You're 25 years old and you move like an old man. This is what the job does to you. Ages you. Breaks you. Wears you down until there's nothing left but habit and survival. Outside, the sun is setting. The sky is beautiful, orange and pink and gold. You barely notice. Beauty doesn't register anymore, just tasks, just survival, just the endless grind of getting through another day. The horse is massive, dead for 2 days judging by the smell. You and the knacker drag it, pulling it by the legs, heaving it inch by inch toward the edge of town where it can be processed. Your shoulders scream. Your back feels like it might snap. You keep pulling. This is your life. Killing people, dragging carcasses, emptying cesspits, selling fraudulent medicine, surviving in the margins of a society that needs you but refuses to acknowledge your humanity. You're not a person anymore. You're a function, a tool, the executioner, the contaminated one, the man who does what needs to be done so others don't have to. You make it back to your cottage after dark. Your son is asleep on the mattress. You lie down beside him. Close your eyes. Wait for the nightmares to start. They do. They always do. The faces line up. The block waits. The sword swings. Over and over. An endless loop of death that follows you into sleep. You wake at some point, midnight maybe, gasping, sweating, your heart pounding. Your son is still asleep beside you, peaceful, unaware. You watch him, breathe, small, fragile, doomed. This is what you've become. A man who kills without feeling, who drags carcasses and empties cesspits and sells false hope, who drinks when he can afford it and endures nightmares when he can't, who's training his son, teaching him through example, through existence, that this is what life is. This is what you do. This is what you are. Some executioners went mad. You've heard the stories. Men who started hearing voices, who saw ghosts, who couldn't tell the difference between the living and the dead anymore. You understand that now. Understand how the line blurs. How reality becomes flexible when you live this close to death for this long. Some executioners became sadistic, started enjoying it, the power, the control, the moment when they held someone's life in their hands. You felt that pull too, that dark temptation to feel something, even if it's something terrible. You've resisted so far, but you understand it. Understand how numbness could curdle into cruelty if you let it. Most executioners just became hollow, empty, going through the motions, surviving. That's you. That's what you've become. A hollow man in a hollow life, doing hollow work, waiting for death to claim you too. You're 25 years old. You'll probably live another 20 years, maybe 30 if you're unlucky. 20 more years of executions, of carcasses, of cesspits, of watching your son grow into this life, of nightmares, of numbness, of slow psychological erosion until there's nothing left but the job. You lie back down, close your eyes, try to sleep. The nightmares are waiting. They're always waiting. But sleep is better than being awake, because at least in nightmares you still feel something. Fear, horror, panic, proof that something human remains inside you. Tomorrow there might be another execution, or there might not. It doesn't matter anymore. You'll wake up. You'll survive another day. You'll do the work. You'll collect your pfennigs. You'll feed your son. You'll go to sleep. You'll have nightmares. You'll wake up. You'll do it all again. This is your life. This is what you are. The executioner, the hollow man, the function, the tool, the thing that society needs but refuses to acknowledge as human. And deep down, in the parts of yourself you can't quite reach anymore, you know they're right. You're not sure you're human anymore either. You're not sure what you are. Just something that survives, something that endures, something that swings the sword and feels nothing. Your son shifts in his sleep, makes a small sound. You reach out, touch his head gently. He's still warm, still alive, still innocent. Not for long, but for now. For now, you lie here in the darkness, feeling the weight on your chest, hearing your own breathing, existing in this space between human and tool, between person and function, between who you were and what you've become. This is the psychological slow death. Not quick, not dramatic, just a steady erosion, a gradual emptying, a transformation so slow you don't notice it happening until it's done, and you're looking at yourself and realizing you don't recognize what's looking back. You're the executioner, and the executioner is you. And there's no difference anymore between the person and the profession. You are what you do. You do what you are. The circle is complete. Tomorrow the sun will rise. The condemned might be waiting, or they might not. Either way, you'll survive another day, because that's what you do now. That's all you do. Survive, endure, exist, until you don't. You can open your eyes now. You're back. Your hands are clean. The weight on your chest is lifting. You're in your own time, your own place, where no one crosses the street to avoid you. You've just lived 2 years as a medieval executioner. 2 years of killing, of cesspits, of rotting cottages and unmarked graves. 2 years of walking through markets where people literally held their breath until you passed. 2 years of watching your son crawl across a dirt floor, knowing his future was already written in your contaminated bloodline. Most people who took this job quit after one execution, if they survived the psychological destruction that followed. Many didn't make it that far. You made it through 15 executions, hundreds of cesspits, countless dead animals dragged through the streets. You survived in the margins of a society that needed you desperately, but refused to acknowledge your humanity. Your bed is soft right now. Your room is warm. You can walk into any building you want tomorrow. You can buy food without watching the seller recoil. Your children, if you have them, can become anything, anything at all. Their futures are limitless in ways the executioner's son could never imagine. If this journey into history's most despised profession moved you, if you survived alongside our nameless executioner through every brutal moment, consider leaving a like. It helps others discover these deep dives into the past. And if you want to explore more of history's darkest truths, more of the lives that broke people slowly, you know where the subscribe button is. These weren't monsters. The executioners, the men and women trapped in dishonorable professions, the people who lived in contamination zones and died in unmarked graves, they were human beings caught in a social and economic system that demanded someone fill these roles and then punished them eternally for doing it. They endured psychological torture that would shatter most modern people within days. They found ways to laugh, to love, to hope for futures that almost never came. They raised children in cottages with dirt floors and leaking roofs, knowing those children would inherit their contamination, and they did it anyway because survival is what humans do. The executioner's son grew up, learned to swing the sword, took his father's place on the scaffold, had a son of his own. The cycle continued for generations, families trapped in hereditary shame, necessary but despised, required but rejected. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep in your climate-controlled room, with your medicine cabinet full and your refrigerator humming, and your future open before you like an unwritten book, you might spare a thought for them, for the executioners and tanners and knackers and prostitutes who built the infrastructure of medieval justice with their ruined lives, for the people who existed in zones of contamination so the rest of society could pretend their hands were clean. They carried out the law's darkest verdicts. They emptied the cesspits and dragged the carcasses and sold false hope in jars. They survived in the margins, in the spaces between useful and untouchable, and they did it knowing there was no escape, no redemption, no way out except death. Sleep well tonight, in your soft bed, in your warm room, where no one fears your touch, where your children's futures are limitless, where you can walk into a church through the front door and no one will stop you. They rarely could.